I had a math test coming up, and like most students, I was super nervous. Usually I was good at math, but this time they had us doing algebra, vectors, complex equations, random numbers, letters in math, Poisson distribution, fractions, differential equations, circulational analysis, circle theory, sets, fractions. It was all way too much for me. I just couldn't handle it. I remember sitting at my desk, books and papers sprawled out in front of me, my mind spinning with formulas and theories. The clock was ticking, each second bringing me closer to the test. I tried to focus on one topic at a time, but it felt like an impossible juggling act. Algebra? Okay, I can handle that. But then vectors? How do I even start? And don't even get me started on differential equations. They seem like an alien language. My anxiety was through the roof. I could feel my heart pounding, my hands sweating. It was like every math problem was a mountain I had to climb, and there were just way too many mountains. I wanted to give up, to throw my books aside and forget about it all, but I knew I couldn't. This test was way too important. I had to find a way to push through, so I took a deep breath and tried to calm myself. I broke down everything into smaller parts, tackling one problem at a time. I told myself, you can do it, just focus. I watched YouTube tutorials, practiced on websites, and even called a friend who was a math whiz for some last minute tips. The night before the test, I reviewed everything one last time. I was still nervous, but I was a lot more prepared. I remind myself that it was okay to be scared. It was okay to not understand everything perfectly. What mattered was that I tried my best. On the day of the test, I walked into the classroom with my heart still pounding, but my head held high. I took my seat, took a deep breath. It was tough, and there were moments I doubted myself, but I pushed through, problem by problem. When I handed my test, I felt a wave of relief. No matter what the result, I knew I had faced my fears and given it my best shot. And sometimes, that's all you can really do. So you would not believe my shock when it came back and I almost failed my class. I was like, damn, I really almost failed. Quite frankly, math was just boring sometimes. Like I do not have the time to be doing revision non-stop. But that's when the teacher announced that we would have another test next week. This time, I needed to pass. I wanted to pass so badly. My mind raced with strategies. I would start earlier, make flashcards, maybe even form a study group. The pressure was intense. It felt like the weight of the world was on my shoulders. I knew that if I didn't pass this time, it could mean serious trouble for my grades. Failure was not an option. So I buckled down, diving into my textbooks with a determination I would never have before. I spent hours each night, my eyes glued to the pages, trying to absorb every bit of information. I drank way too much coffee, stayed up way too late, but I had to do it. I could not afford to fail again. My desk became a battlefield of notes, highlighted textbooks and scribbled formulas. Each night I blurred into the next, my dreams filled with numbers and equations. I found myself obsessively checking online resources, watching tutorial after tutorial, hoping to find that one explanation that would make everything click. I joined study groups, quizzed myself with flashcards, and even practiced in the middle of the night when I couldn't sleep. My mind was a whirlwind of algebra, vectors, and differential equations. The night before the test, I was exhausted but ready. I'd done everything I could. My room was a mess of crumpled papers and empty coffee cups, but I felt a strange sense of calm. I knew I had given it my all. I took one last look at my notes before collapsing into my bed, my brain buzzing with information. The next morning, I walked into the classroom with my heart pounding once again, but this time it was mixed with a silver of hope. I sat down. I took a deep breath, and when the test was handed out, I tackled it with everything I had. Each question felt like a mini battle, my pen moving furiously across the paper. I could feel the seconds ticking away, each one a reminder of how much was at stake. When I finally handed it in, I felt drained but relieved. It was out of my hands now. I'd done everything I could. I walked out of the classroom feeling a mix of exhaustion. There was nothing more I could do but wait and hope. But when the test results came back, I barely scraped a pass. It was a sobering moment. Despite all my efforts, math was just not for me. And you know what? That's okay. Sometimes, no matter how hard you try, you have to accept your limits and move on. It was a hard pill to swallow, but it taught me something about myself. I learned that perseverance is a valuable skill, but so is knowing when to shift your focus and energy to areas where you can truly excel.